to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining us again this week. We're always happy for people like you, people who are interested in what's happening in our cities. It's important for good government that there be a back and forth of ideas and thoughts and what should be going on between the people that live in the city, the people that are on the city council, and the mayors and the staff. So we're glad that you're interested enough to tune in. And if you haven't watched us before, we'll have somebody from one of the 9 cities in CCX's viewing area to fill us in on what's the latest things the City Council's been working on, maybe some of the up-and-coming things. And we're very happy tonight to welcome Jim Prom, who's on the Plymouth City Council. Been a little while, so we're glad to have you back with us.
Thank you for having me back, Juanita. I'm glad to be here.
Now, I had you think about some topics and share them with me, and I thought the first thing we'd start with would be road construction. That you've got some road construction that's been underway at Vicksburg and Schmidt Lake Road. Can you tell us what's happening and why, and more important, when it gets done?
So there's different ways of treating roads.
Right.
One way is called a mill and overlay, where we basically scrape off and mill off about an inch or two, and then we lay a whole new piece of asphalt, kind of creating a nice dome on the road.
Right.
And those last about 15 years. But on some of the major roads, we sometimes do a total reconstruction.
Right.
Take out everything and all the pipes and start over. And now there's kind of a hybrid. It's called a FDR, of all things, full depth reclamation. And this is what we've done on both Schmidt Lake Road and Vicksburg, where we take all of the asphalt off. We make some of the pipe corrections. We correct some of the curb and gutter.
Right.
Put in new ADA sidewalk like that, and then we put all new asphalt on top of it. So it takes a while.
Right.
You know, you still want traffic to be able to go through there. So that's what's been going on in Plymouth all summer long. And I'm happy to say we're nearly completed with Schmidt Lake Road and Zachary in my Ward 4. And then also the Vicksburg Lane is nearly completed as well. And that was a tough one, because when they scooped up all the dirt or all the asphalt, they found that some of the soils underneath it really weren't that good. So that took a lot longer than we expected, and there was some delays. But you know, our whole point is to get it done and do it right. We don't want to have to go back in, 5 or 10 years from now and do it again. So
be efficient.
Right, exactly. Efficiency is the answer.
And the road construction is the kind of thing that you're extremely happy with it when it's done.
Right, that's right.
You have to go through a little discomfort along the way, but it makes things better in the long run.
It does. Nothing like a brand new road.
Now, County Road 47 is a Hennepin County road. Can you tell us a little bit about the differences between working on city streets and working on county roads?
Sure. So the county, Hennepin County, other counties have county roads, and they have their own streets division. They do their own construction on and redeveloping it. And so the city does local roads like Zachary, Lane, and Vicksburg. And then the county is supposed to do their roads. They recently expanded Bass Lake Road, County Road 10, all the way out to Corcoran.
Oh, that's a ways.
And so they do it, differently.
Right.
County Road 47 is a county road, and it's been completely developed now, nearly completely developed, with all new homes, a lot of new people moving in there, and it needs to be redone.
Right.
It doesn't even have shoulders on it now. People can barely bike or walk next to it. And it's going to be around $30 million to build that road. So we would really prefer Hennepin County, take responsibility for it. Hennepin County's got $1 billion budget. It's a big county.
Right.
And so, but it really wasn't on their map to do anything with for about another 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
Some of the folks that live on County Road 47 would really like a trail on either side.
Oh, right.
They'd want a nice road, kind of like how we have on Schmidt Lake Road, a 3-lane road where you have traffic and you have a middle turn lane. And we did look at that and kind of came up with an estimate. And now the big question is, who's going to pay for
Ah.
it? So we're encouraging people to contact Hennepin County
Okay.
commissioners. This is an election season. This would be a great thing to talk to your commissioners about, and let them know that it is a county responsibility to fix that road and to build it up. Plymouth is a very good city. We provide a lot of funds for Hennepin
Oh,
County
yes,
and the
right.
state, and it's just only natural and proper that the roads be built with all those people living there.
Well, and especially if the population of people using it is increasing, then they
Yes.
need it even worse than ever.
Yep, we really do, and
Yeah.
that's it's on our target for the next couple of years. We'd like to see that done. Sometimes the county will switch and they'll give you, in a sense, a road, or they'll trade one
Oh,
road for
okay.
another.
Right.
And that's certainly a possibility. We're certainly willing to talk about that, but we're going to need more than $5 million to
Right,
fix that
right.
road, and so it's really important that we get that done in the next couple of years.
So it's kind of right in its early stages.
Yes,
Where you
that's-
definitely could use some citizen input into the process.
And we did have some study groups with
Okay.
Hennepin County engineers and city engineers and some of the residents. That's kind of how we found out what they would want.
Right.
But what wasn't said is that it's not on really the county's priority list for
Right,
another
right.
10 years.
Now, Hollydale Golf Course is in the middle of changing.
Yep.
Maybe you could give us a little bit of the history leading up to the possible changes of the project.
Hollydale Golf Course has been a golf course for, I believe, over 80 years.
Ah, right.
And a lot of the neighborhoods around the golf course are already developed. And it's a big site.
Right.
It doesn't really have very good access to it right now. Right now, its current zoning, it could be, you could put a hospital there, you could put a school building there. If Wayzata needed another school, which they probably do,
Be big
it
enough
would
site.
fit there right now under the current zoning.
Yeah.
So if the owners sold it to them, they could just use the current zoning and go
move
through the
ahead.
planning commission, submit a plan, and probably get approval because it's
Right.
already zoned for that.
Right.
But the owners have a deal with a developer, and he wants to build single-family homes.
Ah.
So that means that the zoning's going to have to change from what
Right.
it is now to an RSF2, and then we'll have to take a look at that. We have not actually received the actual plan, but I suspect over the next couple of months we're going to have to take a look at that and see whether or not that fits in. We did have conversations, the city council and the mayor, about whether or not the city should purchase it.
Right.
Now, there's already a deal they already have an agreement based on the rezoning.
Ah.
So the owners have a specific price in mind.
Right.
We did a little research in order for the city to buy it. It would have cost the city of Plymouth somewhere around $30 to $40 million.
Yeah.
And with all the other priorities we have,
Right.
County Road 47, our Plymouth Creek Center rebuild, we have a couple of fire departments. It just doesn't seem like we voted no,
Right.
basically, for the city to buy it.
Yeah.
So what comes next is they will bring some sort of plan to the planning commission and
Okay.
then to the city, and then we'll decide where we go from there.
So it's a matter of, at the very, very beginning stage, that they have a developer interested,
Yes.
but they have to work through the process
Yes.
before the city decides if that's the best way to go.
That's exactly right.
Because you have to vote on best use of a property, right?
Right, that's exactly right. And that's changing the zoning. I think that's one of the most important things the city council is supposed to do, is really kind of look long-term.
Oh, right.
What's going to fit here for the long haul, not just right now, but
No.
over the next 20, 30 years, do you want to put some industrial building
Right.
next to a residence, something like that?
Yeah, it's
But-
an important decision
It
that you
is.
have to make.
Yep, it is.
And you probably don't satisfy everybody, but you have to look
No.
in the long range.
No, you really can't satisfy
Right.
anybody. There's too many different opinions out there.
So the next step is for them to present their development project to the city council?
I believe they'll have to go through the planning commission
Oh,
first.
okay, to the planning
The
commission,
planning
right,
commission, we have excellent people on our city planning commission. And they're looking at it more from kind of like the trees, you know.
Right.
We see a forest, they see the trees, and they look whether
Oh,
or not
yeah.
the trees are right and proper, and all the other, you know, T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and they look at a lot more in specific detail, and they do an outstanding job doing that.
And
Our
they-
role is really to step back, kind of take a higher view and say,
Right.
does this look good for this area? And then we listen to what our planning commission says. They bring up lots of good points about,
Right.
well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? Questions need to be answered.
Well,
And that's what they're very helpful doing.
Yeah, and the planning commission saves a lot of time because they do a lot of work that if you didn't have them, you'd have to do it yourself.
Right, that's exactly right. They're very good people, and
Yeah.
they really help us out.
So the next step is for them to come forward and look for a zoning change?
So they're going to probably want to have a zoning change
Right.
and then a plat approval.
Right.
Oftentimes those are in the same meeting
Right,
because they put a lot of work and effort into, okay, this is what we want to build. Here's the details of what we
Right.
want to build. It needs to be rezoned, and then this plat needs to be approved.
right.
It takes more votes to approve the zoning. It just takes a majority of votes to approve a plat.
Ah,
So we're going to need more than just 4 votes to approve the
Right.
zoning, but only 4 votes to approve the actual plat.
so they can, people that are interested, just keep an eye on the agendas of your city council meeting.
And I must say the people of Ward 1 really have been quite involved.
Ah.
They've had a website, and they've come in, they've given their opinion. There's quite a few people that really don't want, you know, the golf course to go
Right.
away. I don't blame them at all. I mean, if I was living next to a golf course
Oh,
for
yeah.
20, 30 years, I wouldn't want it to go away
Right.
either. So I understand exactly how they feel.
A lot of differences of opinions to deal with.
Yep, yep.
And then I thought we'd look a little bit at what development or redevelopment is happening in Plymouth. What are the new businesses that have been coming to Plymouth?
Well, we've got a new tap room on the Loose Line Trail there, right
Oh.
off of Highway 55.
Uh-huh.
And that's going to be opening up pretty soon. We've got a few new restaurants coming in. There's been a new extended stay hotel built right
Oh.
off of Bass Lake Road, serving kind of the Smiths Medical, some
Right.
of our medical device companies and other companies there. And we're always looking for other types of development.
Right.
And of course, Four Seasons Mall in my ward, everyone asks about that.
And are there any commercial projects underway right now in Plymouth, or is it just kind of in between because of the pandemic stuff?
Yeah, I think the pandemic kind of slowed a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff down. Retail in particular really took a big hit.
Right.
And they still are. You know, some bigger box companies were allowed to stay open.
Right.
And then a regular clothing store, like in my ward, Kohl's, for example, had to be closed the whole
Right.
time. So there's a lot of uncertainty right now.
Oh, there is.
And we need to kind of get past this, I think, before a lot of this comes back.
In the future, right?
Oh yeah, let's get through this year
Right.
together, and let's get back to being Plymouth again.
Yeah, lots of changes have happened.
Hmm.
Now, are there any single housing projects that are going? Now, the one that we just talked about would possibly be one at the beginning stages. Are there any projects that are going on and they're doing any building right now?
Well, we had permits for I think about 200 single-family homes
Oh,
this
that's
year,
quite
which
a
is
few.
about the same, just a few less than last year.
Right.
There's a couple of townhomes going in, but the big project is the Four Seasons Mall.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are some of the things your community development staff get involved with to encourage businesses to come to Plymouth?
Well, Danette Parr has been absolutely fantastic,
Uh-huh.
our economic redevelopment person, and she's been helping businesses that are struggling, you know, get some aid.
Oh, that's important.
We extended ourselves to, like Honey and Mackey's Ice Cream is a phenomenal ice cream shop if you
Ah.
haven't been over
Oh,
there.
I haven't. Have
on
to try
County
it.
Road 24 and 55. And they came and asked us, you know, we'd like to stay open.
Yeah.
So we did everything we could to get them outside, out on tables, so that they were
right.
able to stay open. And we do that for other businesses
Sure.
as well. So Danette's really done great. And so we're helping the businesses as much as we can
Right.
as the city.
Yeah, and important to have that working together and mutual assistance.
Yeah, especially now when some people don't trust each other.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that could happen is to lose trust.
Right.
And I like I said, I really have to commend Dave Callister, our city manager, Mike Goldstein, our police chief, and Danette Parr and all the other staff, and really reaching out to a lot of these businesses and
Right.
saying, how can we make it easier for you in this tough time without breaking the governor's edicts?
Right.
And that's kind of what we've been doing.
Well,
Pretty
that would-
successfully.
Yeah, that
Yep.
it
We
takes
did
a-
lose a restaurant right before the pandemic, Jake's on 55. It was a fantastic restaurant.
Oh, right.
I don't think that with the pandemic caused it, but there's still vulnerable restaurants, and I feel
And-
bad
and-
for them. I really
And
do.
people really like restaurants in the city.
Yes, that's the one thing that people constantly
Always
said.
ask for.
When are you going to get a new restaurant?
Right.
Well, if we could, we'd get more. It's just not how it works.
Well, you've got quite a few out in Plymouth.
We do.
Yeah.
We have quite a few. Plymouth, if you will.
Yeah. Created downtown.
We're very busy. I think
Yeah.
about it now. There's a lot on the council's plate.
Right, there is.
And there's 3 council members up for elections, so it's very important that everyone gets out and vote this year.
Oh, very important.
We have open voting right now. I believe over 20 to 30% of people in Plymouth have already voted.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yep, we have an outdoor voting station right at City Hall.
Huh.
So you can come up, you don't have to go in the building.
Okay.
Come up, you'll vote like you regularly
Right.
vote, fill it out, sign, fill out your ballot, put it in the machine yourself. I think that's the best way to go.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good way.
I think it's better than mailing it in. I really do.
Yeah, I think so.
It's putting it in the ballot and getting it scanned
And you know
there.
it's there.
Right, and then you know it's there. And if there's a problem with your signatures, they correct it
Oh,
right
yeah, you do
then.
know right away.
With the mail on envelopes, if the signatures don't match,
Right.
it's not really a valid vote.
Right.
So if you accidentally scribbled or something, it might not go through.
Yeah, and then you know right away.
There's a lot more effort to mailing it
Oh,
in.
that's
So
kinda
I
cool.
encourage all people, if they want to vote early, to come down right to City Hall
Right.
and vote. And I vote on election day. I'm old fashioned, in our time.
Right, right.
I'm going to be a grandpa soon, maybe, but there was only election day.
Right.
It was one day, and you had to figure it out. So
Things are changing.
things are changing, but I still expect a pretty healthy turnout on election day.
Oh, I would think so.
Anyone who's paying attention should be voting
I
this
think
year.
there's a lot more people curious, involved, wanting to know what's going on, and to make a difference by voting.
I agree.
So that's sort of one of the pluses of this uncomfortable time.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pluses, benefits, if you will, of having a pandemic that a lot of people are discovering.
Right.
People I know are changing their lives. Some people are picking up and moving and making major decisions
Yeah.
about their life.
Right.
They were kind of just pushing off. But suddenly this kind of focus, it's
Oh,
okay, we're all in
definitely.
the home together here. How's this going to work? And
Yeah.
it seems we're very resilient people.
I think so.
And so we'll figure it out and we'll move on and make the city a better city.
And you're actively involved doing it right now.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Wonderful police.
Then I thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about Plymouth, how they're, as a city council, how you're reacting with the Corona-19 virus, how it's affected your city government.
Well, I think it's affected the staff as much as it's affected the council.
Okay.
We had to make the adjustment to go to Zoom TV.
Right.
And, some of us, we weren't as experienced as you were with television, and
it
figuring
takes-
out how to
yeah.
set it up and get the right background.
Right, right.
And it definitely makes the meetings a little bit more difficult.
Uh-huh.
You can't get a sense of where somebody's coming from all the
Right.
time from that. But we've made that adjustment. I just hope it's over soon. Of course, the city buildings have been vacated.
Right.
We haven't let anybody in.
Yep.
That's unfortunate. Our Plymouth Creek Center, that we have all these events and wonderful education things that we're basically not doing.
Right.
Although our Parks Department is figuring out ways to get them outside. Way to go, Diane.
That's important.
Yep. So
How you deal with what is.
that's right. Deal with what is. We're all resilient, smart people. We can figure it out. We should never feel overwhelmed like we can't do this. It's just not the right attitude. And we don't have that in Plymouth. We're a get it done city.
Right. Now, there's different ways that people can contact staff and up at City Hall. Because maybe you could mention the different ways people can maybe contact when they have a question or they're trying to follow up on a particular area.
Well, certainly the number one way is to call.
Right.
763-509-5000.
Easy to remember.
Easy to remember. Trina does a great job sending you to the right department. Lately, I've made some calls that are myself.
Right.
And the line is busy, or they put you on hold a little bit. Again, you got to be patient with that.
Right.
But also really the website.
Yeah.
Really, you could spend a day on the website going through all the different departments,
are lots of
learning about our forestry or,
Right.
Pretty much every department in there is on the website, which also you can send email to.
So you can go online.
So you can go online, investigate something, and then just follow the website and then
Right.
send an email directly to that person. Our staff typically gets back to you the same day, and that's just who we are.
Right.
Of course, you can always call your council members if
Yes,
you're not
definitely.
satisfied with what
Right.
the city staff are doing. And I probably get, depending on the time of year, 5 or so different calls every week or so that
Right.
people said, here's where I am, here's where I want to be. And then usually we get it worked out.
Right.
And so you really have easy access to the staff and to your city council. No one should say it's difficult to get a hold
Right,
of us.
right, 'cause
I
there are a lot-
particularly prefer when people call me because I like to talk in person just like I
Oh,
talk
right,
to you.
right.
Sometimes when I do emails, maybe it's a guy thing, but a lot of my emails just don't satisfy everything that people want
Right.
to talk about. So when I have an issue with, say, two neighbors who aren't getting along, and there's trees on the borderline or something like that,
Right.
it's really better to go talk to them in person
Right.
than it is to try to nail this down in an email. So that's what I prefer.
Well, and you says that you'd prefer people to call you when they've got these
Absolutely.
issues that deal with the city.
Absolutely. And I find that by talking to them directly, the Four Seasons Mall is another great example. I've
Right.
had dozens of conversations with people who want to know right now. They haven't been on the website, they haven't watched your show,
Right.
and they want to know what's going on. So I'll take the 5, 10, 15
Sure.
minutes and tell them everything I'm telling you
Right.
tonight. It's all transparent.
And then, depending on the issue, they can make appointments to meet people in City Hall.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you do need that face-to-face and work things
Absolutely.
out.
And of course, we follow all the rules with masking and
Right.
everything else, according to the governor's edicts. And you certainly can, whether you're pretty much any issue, whether
Right.
it's a park that you want to have an issue with or building licenses or anything like that, you can come in and make an appointment. So we
Right.
got that covered.
Right.
We're good.
And we briefly mentioned elections. Which are the different seats that are up for re-election? Because I think you've got three
Three.
of them. Okay.
So we have at-large Jim Willis
Right.
is up for re-election. He covers the whole city.
Right.
Jim Davis is in Ward 3, which is around Medicine Lake.
Uh-huh.
And Alyssa McGregor's in Ward 1, which is where the Hollydale Golf Course is.
Uh-huh.
So
those are the three areas that people will be voting for. And I wanted to tell people that your fall newsletters gives a lot of information about elections.
yes, it does.
I
Yes,
thought that if somebody has any questions, start out with the newsletter. If they didn't keep it, which
Yep.
you hope they do,
Yep.
it is available online.
Yep, and I really encourage people to call these candidates.
Yeah.
This is the time of the
Oh,
year
yeah, be in contact
where
with them.
they really want to talk to you.
Yes, they do.
And I know from knocking on doors myself that at this time of the year it's really tough to knock. Well, of course, with COVID, it's nearly
Right,
impossible
right.
to knock on doors. But even still, people are busy. Fall's turning over.
Right.
It's a really tough time to have a half an hour conversation or a 15-minute
Right.
conversation. So, but you know what? That's why they're running for office.
Right.
So this is a great time for you to get in front of them and say, tell me what you're all about. Why should I vote for you?
Right.
And if they don't want to talk to you, well,
That gives you an
I
answer.
think we know the answer there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then I noticed on your website that people can sign up for e-notifications about different
Yep.
areas, so that if
Plymouth.
you,
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted you to expand on what they can do.
So one of the email services we have is the Plymouth Alert, which I'm on. It alerts you on your phone and your computer.
Right.
Anything going on in Plymouth. We've already used that when a police are in an area. Maybe they're chasing down, somebody who's very dangerous.
Right.
Neighbors can get a notice if there's severe weather. They can get a notice about that, and they can do all that by going online to
Right.
the website. And I highly encourage everybody in Plymouth to sign up
Yeah,
for
that
Plymouth
seemed
Alert.
like a good thing to do.
It's working out very well.
Now, we don't have a lot of time left, but I just want to emphasize that the commissions that Plymouth has need volunteers.
Oh, thank you.
And so we want to encourage people, we don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but that they can go on the website to find out what commissions you have. And
Yep.
how many do you have?
We have a planning commission.
Okay.
We have the EQC commission. We have an HRA commission. I think there's another commission too.
Park?
But the important thing is, this is the time of year to
Yeah,
sign up.
that you want to fill out
And
an application.
We get applications, usually we get about a dozen applications to fill 3 or 4 spots.
Right,
But what we find out is that, some of these people move on.
right,
It's totally voluntary. So you dedicate yourself to one of these commissions to serve the city of Plymouth, and you serve for a couple of years, and then your job changes and suddenly you have to move. It's great to have other people on file, because then we'll appoint someone, maybe in January or maybe in
Right.
February.
Right.
So I highly encourage people to talk to Sandy Ingdahl.
right,
Write down call that number, 509-5000.
Right.
Say, Sandy, I want to be on a commission. It's a wonderful way to really get involved in your city and serve the city as well.
Right.
And we have quite a few people that have signed up and are applying for only just a handful of positions.
Right.
But, I really want to encourage people that just because you don't get picked the first time doesn't mean you shouldn't stick with it.
right,
I ran twice before becoming a city council
Right.
member. And so a little tenacity is well worth it. And I also really want to thank everyone who is on these commissions. They're diligent, hardworking,
Right.
serious people, and it benefits our city.
right, definitely. Well, thank you very much for sharing your time and your expertise with our audience out there. We'll encourage them to turn in next week for part 2 on Plymouth issues, and we'll hope to look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye.
Bye.